Hey, just before we get into the video real quick, I just want to mention that I started a blog. This is mostly just to post ideas and thoughts and stuff like that that maybe aren't quite, I don't want to make a video about them necessarily, or maybe I do want to make a video, but I haven't really hashed out my ideas fully yet. So the link to the blog is in the description if anybody's interested. Go and check it out. Thank you. This is old news at this point, but it's been on my mind and I got to talk about it, man. What the hell is this? The big fat red bar on the top, the giant blurb of text at the bottom, a QR code? This is nasty, dude. I mean, what a nightmare this is. Now, to be fair, the Switch 2 exclusive games seem to not include this giant blurb of text. It seems to be a thing exclusive to the Switch 2 edition games, but you can see that here on the Donkey Kong Bonanza box. It doesn't have that, so that's nice. But as Redditor DBRU00 points out, this looks like the boxes that you get at a game store when they don't have the originals. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, I fancy myself a collector of games and Nintendo products, as can be seen by my giant red wall here, so I'd been getting pretty excited for the Switch 2 and to start collecting for it. But seeing these boxes, man, I'm pretty disappointed. These just don't look that nice to collect. For one thing, they're bigger than the original Switch 1 boxes, so they're gonna take up more room. Given these boxes just come with tiny cartridges smaller than DS cartridges, these big giant boxes make absolutely no sense to me. The only sense they might make is if the boxes came with stuff inside them, like a game guide or stickers or, I don't know, a holy Bible. I don't care, anything. But they almost never do. The box could have been smaller, or hell, it could have been the same size. I guess a bigger box kind of signals a bigger product, like the Switch 2 is bigger and better in every way, including those big, beautiful game boxes. I mean, that's gotta be the thought process, but it's just so asinine. The original Switch 1 boxes are already needlessly large, and I've always looked a little silly with the tiny little game cartridges just chilling in there. Also, I feel like Nintendo should want to avoid the mistake they had made with the Wii U, where people thought the Wii U was like an accessory or just like an upgraded Wii rather than like, a fully new console. I feel like these boxes kind of play into the idea of this just being an upgrade rather than a new console. Like, it just looks like the box for a Switch 1 game, but extended upwards with a ribbon saying Switch 2 slapped on it. It doesn't scream new and original, it just screams rehashing and more of the same. Speaking of which, the red band at the top is just... why? As you can see here in this picture, the thought process seems to be that it's a fully wraparound thing for the Switch 2 logo that's on the spine, but I just don't get that. The front cover could have just been one big full artwork with just the top part of the spine being covered up by the logo. It feels like they designed all of the artwork for the games assuming the boxes were going to be like a certain size. Then the team who designs the boxes was like, oh, by the way, the boxes are going to be like an inch taller. So instead of like changing their artwork, they just inserted the red bars. They're like, just stick some red there. Just stick some red in the logo and yeah, you're good, you're golden. As that Redditor had pointed out, it just makes it look cheap and kind of bootlegged. Like, it truly does look like a used game case you would get at a GameStop back when they actually put effort in with those. Nowadays, you're lucky to have the game's name scribbled in magic marker on the box, but they did used to put a little effort in. Now, in the midst of all this negativity, I'd like to say one thing, and I will acknowledge that the boxes in this picture are the Japanese boxes, so it's possible they're going to be different in North America. But the fact that we have colorful spines again is so good. I was worried they were going to make them fully red again like the OG Switch, which is something I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with. On the one hand, I love the consistency of it, with most games even having the same font, giving it a very clean and minimalistic look. On the other hand, it's a giant wall of red. I cannot tell what any of these games are from a distance. I have to get up close and personal in order to read the spines even remotely. There's a whole subreddit called r/Switch Spines. My god, that was like the third take. It's so hard to say Switch Spines, where people design and post their own spines for Switch games, and it honestly significantly improves the look of the games on display. Like, just looking at this one, I mean, you can tell what all of these things are. You can tell that for some reason this person has 2 copies of Minecraft, but yeah, I mean, it's just a big improvement over the wall of red. So all that is to say, I kind of liked it for the original Switch, but I'm seriously glad that it's going the way of the dodo for Switch 2, assuming these aren't just promotional pieces or speculative, or that it won't be the case for North American boxes. Another thing I'm pretty livid about as a collector, and this is something that's not really related to the boxes themselves, I guess it kind of is a little bit, but not really, but it's just the fact that most of the third-party games are going to require a download, as the full games aren't going to be included on the cartridge, with the notable exception of Cyberpunk 2077, which I gotta say, like, kudos to them. I'll definitely pick up a copy of that game. What is the point of buying physical games? Seriously, we live in a digital age nowadays. What is the point? Digital games are significantly more convenient. I can hop right into them and out of them without having to stand up from my couch. Yes, you're limited by storage on your device, but the storage can be upgraded. What is the point of collecting physical games? Well, it's to actually own the thing you've paid for. I really don't like to think of digital ownership as actual ownership because, I mean, it's really not. It's more like the company is loaning the game to you, and if those servers that house the game ever go down, you will lose the ability to download the game. If your device ever breaks or gets corrupted or whatever, it's gone. When the servers are down, you cannot re-download it legally. When you own the physical media, though, you always own it, assuming the disc or cartridge itself doesn't break. But you can also back up your physical media too. Personally, I have every movie and TV show I own physically ripped and saved on my old PC that I turned into a media and Plex server. If any of those discs break, I'll always have them backed up somewhere. And you can do the same thing with games. You can back up video games onto your computer. Now, if you combine these two things, physical and digital media, you run into a problem. If you're buying a physical game that requires a download to be playable, what you've bought is a digital game that you need to physically insert the cartridge to play. It's the worst of both worlds. Why would you ever buy a physical game that is fully unplayable without a download? At that point, literally just buy the game digitally, and that way you won't need to worry about fumbling around with a tiny cartridge when you want to actually play the game. And perhaps that is the point, at least partly. We all know these companies want to phase out physical game sales, and honestly, who can blame them? It eats into their bottom line to need to produce these things physically, and it costs even more on a proprietary cartridge rather than a standardized Blu-ray disc. Obviously, these companies want people buying games digitally because digital sales are significantly more profitable than physical game sales. But I don't care. I like owning my media physically. I like actually owning a game that I'm going to pay $70 or even more for. I want to be able to rip the games off of the disc or cartridge and have them backed up, just in case. It's important not only for me as a consumer, but for game preservation at large. It's very disappointing, and it's really dampened my appetite as a consumer to want to buy these games. Seriously, I was super excited to start collecting for this new console and trying out all the games, but now I'm just not so sure anymore. And it sucks because it's just a double smack across the face. Ugly boxes combined with the fact that the third-party games are going to mostly require online downloads. We'll see what happens, but I think I might just be collecting first-party games physically and opting to just buy most third-party stuff digitally, which will sure show them, won't it? Oh god, they're gonna end up making more money from me than they would have if they were selling them physically. Oh no. As much as I'm complaining here, there was speculation that the Switch would be Nintendo's final console with physical games. Seriously, there was speculation that after the Switch generation, Nintendo would totally stop producing physical games and switch entirely to digital. I was a bit nervous about it, man. So the fact that we actually are getting physical games is both exciting and shows that they understand that there still is a market out there for physical media and that consumers of their products want to actually own the things that they're buying from them. There is a chance, however, that the Switch 2 itself will be the final generation with physical media. I could be wrong, and we could see a resurgence in consumer demand for physical media, but it seems to be trending away in all places, even though I think we've seen a rise in demand for physical media recently. I mean, here's the Google Trends chart on searches for the term physical media going from 2004 to the present. I'm not sure exactly what this means. I don't know if this kind of thing is just always going to trend up as more people are searching stuff on Google. I don't know, but it could also mean that physical media is there's a genuine interest that's been growing since I guess around the pandemic. And maybe physical media will just never truly die, and there will always be a market for it that is large enough to actually justify production. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I make weekly content, mostly centered around gaming. Give me a sub, leave a like, and I'll see you guys next week with another one. Thank you very much.